Hi, welcome back to the channel. Well, welcome back to the channel. I'm Terry Pasquarelli with MVP Realty.
And I'm Rich Pasquarelli with MVP Realty.
So as we said, we're going to just share our experiences because we've had quite a few as it relates to new builds and resale properties. And we'll keep score. We'll let you know at the end how we did in terms of how many times we've leaned in one direction or the other.
Right.
Yes.
So we left there, and me going to Indiana, I had no clue what to expect. And I wanted to make sure that it had certain things, like number one, does it have a Home Depot out there?
Yes. You were looking for Home Depot, Lowe's, Target.
Right.
I kept getting phone calls. Do they have this?
Do they have this?
Do they have that?
So,
and then we had to find out where would we live.
Right.
So we did rent. We did rent a duplex while we got our understanding of the area.
Right.
And that wasn't a purchase, but I think sometimes that's an important consideration. That was a really, really brand new, states away kind of a move.
Yep.
And it was very helpful, I think, to just get our bearings, understand.
Where was our daughter going to go to school?
Right.
And,
choices.
Where was Terry's office going to be? And at this, we've moved so many times that I stopped. I didn't think about getting the job over there. My job was going to be the house and getting my daughter to school, and I was turning into the house husband. And until we went out home shopping again.
We did, and we looked at resales, and we looked at new construction, and we looked at new builds.
Right.
So a slightly different take on new construction, because in that case, we did purchase a new build.
It was a new build. It was a spec home.
But it was a spec home, and it was essentially done when we found it.
Right, and that was done by a very small, local custom builder. But he was a very high quality custom builder, and you can tell by everything that he did in that house that it was top notch. The appliances were top notch. The finishes were top notch. It was an incredible home, and it was perfect for us, perfect location, and that's where we ended up buying a new construction, but it was a spec home.
So we didn't have to choose the floor. We didn't have to choose the cabinets. Happily, the choices that were in there just appealed to us across the board.
Right.
And what a way, again, to jumpstart our ability to get into a home, get our furniture out of storage and stop paying while we rented. We were kind of doubled up, paying rent for us and storage for the furniture.
Sure.
We were able to move more quickly into a home than if we had decided to build again.
Right.
And we didn't need to. That was just probably the perfect house.
It was, and our furniture, all of our stuff has been in storage since we left Maryland. So while we were building the house in New Jersey that we never lived in, our stuff was in storage. And then because we moved again, we had to take our stuff from storage from New Jersey and have it shipped over to Indiana. By the time we saw it again, it was like Christmas morning, opening up all these boxes.
Right. Did we have that? Was ours? Yeah. I forgot half of what we had, I'm sure. And then there are the boxes that you never open again.
You never open.
You find out there's still stickers on them from 2 or 3 moves ago.
Right.
I'll put them in the attic. I'll figure it out later, and never really needed them.
And this is where we started to really understand how much to bring with us when we're moving, especially a big move states away.
Right.
And we started to learn. And what we started to do there is that's where I got into the real estate business way back in Indiana.
Really, in the early 2000s, so just about 20 years ago.
And because that was if I'm going to move again, that's an easy trade for me to get into and be able to bring with me to someplace else.
And I think it's also you have this foundation as we tell our story about homes we've purchased, homes we've sold, homes we've built, adventures we've had in building homes and things to correct. What a wealth of knowledge then that you could bring. It had such a relevance to this career through experience, not just by going to a class and reading up on it, but by having lived it and being able to share, some, considerations, warnings, challenges, but also all the upsides of really good outcomes that can happen. Because really, on the whole, we've had some wonderful outcomes.
Oh, we really have, and that's where I also, getting into the real estate business, I had the opportunity to help other people, young couples and other people that have never built before, buy their homes and buy new construction. And I got
maybe
to
not be afraid of it.
and not to be afraid of it. I mean, I certainly understood the process, and I got to learn more about a lot of the national builders and some of the local builders, some of the builders that I was very happy to take people to. Try to stick with places that we knew did a good job, and it was fun. And again, I learned even more being on the realtor side of that, to be able to work with builders and understand their needs even more than I thought I did before.
Right. I think the other thing with that first house we had in Indiana, which we just loved, it was in a planned community. It had different sections, larger homes, medium-sized homes. So we really got
Different
the sense
products,
of
yeah.
housing products. It had some common areas. We had a pool and a clubhouse and
Right.
basketball courts and things that were in common. So we had some small homeowner, common area maintenance types of fees.
Right.
But it gave us an idea of what it was like to be able to tap into those shared resources. So we didn't have a pool in the back of that home.
No.
Didn't need to, because we had the pool across the street that the neighborhood used, and it was lovely. We enjoyed it, and we got to put other features into our home.
Right.
And that sort of shifted maybe where some of the cost was compared to our house in Maryland, where we had, the pool and everything kind of self-contained on our own property.
Exactly.
And it worked out fine. We
did.
really enjoyed living in that community. And as you said, then we were close to shopping, to the infrastructure of the area, highways, airports, schools. That worked out really well.
Right.
And then for whatever reason, I think we were changing jobs again. Part of my other theme. That was not the intent of this video, but here we go. We were on the verge of having to move again, but it wasn't time. And we decided, before we knew we needed to absolutely leave Indiana, we were going to build again. And I think we thought we'd be there for a long time. Our daughter was in high school, probably going to college there. And we started maybe even further up the funnel than we ever had with a local builder, because we bought or put a deposit down on a piece of land in a new community and started to work with the builder developer on really the architectural plans for a
Right.
home, and really getting it mapped out and drawn to our specification, rather than us saying we'll pick model A or model B.
This was
What a high quality, beautiful
This was-
opportunity to build that would be.
Right, and this was really starting from scratch, working with the architect and doing anything we wanted, all the way from the blueprints to the finish, and that was going to be quite the project to do. And
A beautiful setting on a lake or a large pond. We were going to have the fire pit built in the backyard way before that became the popular item that it is today. I keep
Right.
thinking of things we thought of way ahead of the trend.
Sure.
That was one of them.
Yep.
And again, that was in the early 2000s, and what a beautiful setting. And here again, we never got that far.
Well, by this time, we had also we started building another house.
Oh, we did. That's right. We
In
were
between all this,
living in Indiana, but we were starting to build our first home in Florida.
Right.
Maybe we'll come back to that so that we can kind of talk about Florida all at once. But you're right. We were already thinking ahead at that point to what our either second home would be or kind of future home. But at the time, still school-based up north and finishing things up from a family point of view.
Right.
We weren't ready to leave the Midwest
Right.
either. That was still going to be our primary residence. But that beautiful home that we have the architectural plans for, again, jobs intervened, and we never even got to break ground on that house.
Right.
So that one was perhaps even an earlier stall and stop than our house in New Jersey that we built the entire thing and never moved into.
yeah, well, I guess we were learning a little bit and say, well, wait a minute, we better stop now before we get too far into this. And
We've been down that road once before, and that was a process.
Right.
So yeah, that one we were able to get our deposit back from the developer on the land deposit. We got to keep the plans,
Yep.
off we went. We paid for the plans, and another happy family got to take that beautiful home site and turn it into a lovely home.
Right.
And we didn't, but we did actually build a different house that we thought was going to be simpler, suit us for the amount of time that we still had left, a few more years in Indiana. And again, we looked about resale, but we ended up with yet another new build, new construction in a neighborhood that was brand new again.
Brand new,
So
small local builder, but he built maybe a dozen or 2 dozen homes a year, not very big, but he was a local builder. And again, what a fantastic experience. This guy was always there. He was always answered his phone, always addressed any concerns that we had. Everything went smoothly. Everything was done exactly the way we had planned it to be done, and we were able to move into that place, and we brought a lot of ideas with us, and this
things
was
we learned from prior new construction opportunities that we'd had.
right.
Every time we do it, we learn something.
We always learn something.
We'll
and we
always do that again. We'll
right.
never do that again.
And we
There's
always
still a
say,
list.
when we're all done, we say, you know what we should have done. So
There's always that.
just write that down and remember it for the next time. So. But
well, we had a great experience, and I think that it kind of does show across that spectrum of the big national builder who got it right to some of these, especially in Indiana, the two more local builders, but very quality individuals and quality mindsets. They really delivered
They did.
on both ends of that. So I don't know that there's only one right answer for people either about what the builder is capable of. A lot of it is reputation and sort of really checking on examples of what they've already done as a good indicator of what they can do for you. The good news is there are choices. And I think even by the time we're now in the mid 2000s, right? 2005, 2006 type of a time frame, things seem like to me that they were getting easier. I don't know if it's because of our experience that we'd been through the process a few times, but it seemed like the processes from the builders were more consistent. There was more continuity of communication, that sort of thing. So it just seemed like less of a black box about what was going on, and I felt very involved and very comfortable in the process. Now that one we did a construction loan, so that was different for us as well. Remember, we did a construction loan and then you kind of paid as you went rather than putting in a deposit and coming back at closing. So we learned a little bit about another aspect of financing a new construction home,
yes,
and that worked very smoothly.
Lender would release money to the builder at certain points. When they got the roof on, then money would be released, and it worked for us.
It was really easy.
It was easy.
It was very easy.
Another experience that we had that
we didn't expect going into it, but it just sort of worked out.
But it worked out good.
And so that was a great experience. But then, we were, as you said, both building in Florida, and there was maybe one more job move in the mix. And so in the middle of all of that...
I'm glad I got into real estate, I'll tell you.
I tell you, you could at least list your own home every 5 or 10 years, maybe. We built in Delaware too, and that was a different experience. It was, again, a new community.
Right.
I think the commonality there was a regional or kind of smaller local builder. They probably they were building an entire community, so they were going to be building 200 homes or something in that community, much less other communities they were in, but they weren't a super big national builder.
They weren't a national builder.
But what was different for us, and I'd have to say, by age, you would think we wouldn't have qualified because a lot of people have that misconception, but we actually built and moved into a home in a 55 plus community.
Yes, we did.
And as I remember signed my name on that, I wasn't 55, and I think one of those misconceptions is that everybody is going to be older, and it's not necessarily the case. It was a charter where 80% of the occupancy needed to be someone 55 and older, and the other 20% needed to be an adult but didn't need to be of that age bracket. And we were really comfortable with the location, with the size of the community, the type of home they were building, and the location relative to work and so forth, and met some of the people who would be the neighbors, and they were fantastic. And I think we felt really comfortable, even being on the early age side of it.
Even though we were not 55, I had some concerns about moving into a 55 plus community, but we did it, and we weren't sorry that we did.
What a lovely home!
There is that 80-20 rule that Terry alluded to that we're going to really get into later in a different video. But just because you're not 55 doesn't mean you cannot go into a 55 plus community, and there's pluses and minuses to that, and there's also regional pluses and minuses to that we'll get into in the other video.
Right. It was very popular, I think, even from a tax perspective in Delaware for builders and communities to offer that as an opportunity. And so for many people who were 55 and above, those communities were great.
Right.
And I would say this was my first experience in a 55 plus community. It was a very, I'll say, younger, mature adult, active community. These folks were out walking, riding, jogging,
playing golf,
doing so many things. It certainly wasn't a sedentary, kind of quiet community from an activity perspective. It was really lively and a lot of good community neighbors gathering and doing things together. We had a blast.
We did.
It's such a positive experience, but it did give us a little bit of perspective that we can share from time to time with people now about 55 plus communities. And I like your idea. Let's do a video where we can just really dig in, especially here in Southwest Florida, where there is just a whole new breed of 55 plus communities, even compared to what we experience in Delaware.
And the evolution.
Set of choices. It's amazing when you think about it. But as you kind of alluded to before, while we were doing that last house in Indiana and before we did the house in Delaware, we actually had built our first house here in Florida.
And we did do a video that we're going to post up here about moving to Florida and what that whole experience was and actually moving to Florida. But this video is about new construction and resales and
we looked at both.
We did. We came down. As it turns out, one of the agents from my Indiana agency had come down to Florida. So when we came down for a vacation into the Southwest Florida area, I gave Bob a call and said, we're a little interested. We may have hit our all of our points of where we might want to build a second home. So we went out with Bob and we took a look around, and before we left on that vacation, we decided to build new.
We had a contract for a new build, and that was 2004.
Right.
And that was, as the market, as everybody remembers, was on quite an upswing, but we weren't in a hurry. So
national builder,
another national builder, high
international
quality
builder, actually,
right, very good reputation. They were very easy to work with as well. I do remember having a lot of choices and some customization things that became your change orders and things from their standard plan.
Right.
They allowed that. They were very comfortable with it, and they were able to produce against that without making a lot of mistakes, etc.
Right.
But we were back to having a lot of choices.
We did.
Cabinets, what color glaze inside the frame of the cabinet,
right,
and what was happening with the floors, and just every element of the finishes in the home.
So we were getting a little complicated here because we were building in Indiana, and then we built there, and then we sold that to build in Delaware. And while that was going on, we had a contract to build down here in Florida.
And it was getting done by 2006. It was ready, and I think that kind of tipped the scales for us in terms of where our primary residence was ever going to be. We thought that would be our rent it out, use it for a while, 5 to 10 year plan house, and
right.
Boy, within a year, everything changed. And once we got a taste,
it was so hard when we would come down to Florida, and then it was time to leave and go back up, and we're thinking, we don't want to.
I don't want to close the house up.
Right.
And then I think we decided pretty quickly we didn't want to rent it out. We really just wanted to enjoy it and have our family live in it and use it. And we just stayed more and more. And within a year, that was our primary residence, and we actually sold the house in Indiana,
right?
And made that move more permanently. And then I, kind of went back up and down to Delaware more from a work point of view, more of a commute. But as we were, moving into a new community again and building, one consideration there was from a homeowners association, much more choice of homeownership association based communities here in Florida. In that case, it was a bundled golf community.
Right.
So talk about landscaping included now, and maintenance, and someone was coming by to trim the flowers and pull the weeds and mow the lawn, and you were there as a family or an individual to really enjoy your life in Florida and enjoy the beauty that was created in that community. By the setting and how it was maintained, and yet you were paying for golf in that type of a community. Bundled golf meant we were paying for it as part of our homeowner association fees, whether we played golf or not.
Right.
So we learned a lot about that too.
Yeah, we learned a lot that we cannot play golf. So,
It doesn't work.
Right, it doesn't work. So,
No, but I think that's a consideration whether people want to live in that type of a neighborhood. Some communities don't tie the golf to your home, to your homeowner association, dues, etc. You can live in a beautiful community like that, and then the golf in some cases is optional.
Right.
You pay in for a membership if you want to play golf. In other cases, it's mandatory and connected to the home, even within a community where a neighbor may not be mandated to participate as a golf member. And then there are the fully bundled, like the one we were in. So as we chat with folks coming here to Florida for the first time, there's a whole range of other almost definitions of communities that are important to think about, how you want to engage with homeowner association, how you want to engage with the beauty of your community. Is it going to be a landscape golf community? Are you going to play or not? Lots of layers of decisions, even beyond the decision you're making about the home itself.
absolutely.
But we had, I think, mostly a good experience with the home that we built, the first house. There were a few adventures. I kind of
The first in
remember
Florida.
the first in Florida.
Right.
The couple of adventures around. To me, it seemed like it was more around the pool and around that pool decking in the back that we had some maybe adventures on the way in, or had to figure some things out with the builder.
Well, again, this was an international builder, and everything was going along great. And we got a phone call from the pool builder, and the pool builder unfortunately didn't notice that we had chosen a different finish to the pool. I wanted a darker finish instead of the light finish, and
Too late.
it was too late. So they owned up to it real quick. They didn't try to hide it off, and they said, well, there's two things we can do. We can resurface this, put another surface over the top of this, which would have meant putting one surface on top of another, or I will automate your pool for you so that you end up with a wireless remote, and when you want to turn on the spa, the lights, the heater, you can do all of that. Which
That's quite a choice to make.
It was, and you know me, I was into automation, so I went with what I said at the time was the consolation prize, and I took the automation, and
Were
it
you
turned
just
out
concerned, though? You
perfect.
didn't want to put that second layer on a
I
pool
didn't.
from the get-go.
Right.
Sometimes people do that many years later, almost like they put another layer on a roof
Right.
to preserve and extend the life of a pool.
Right.
But I don't think you were comfortable to start out that way.
I didn't want to add it to it. I didn't want to worry about later on down the road with that being on there. So
That extra layer.
we just left it the way it was. It was the wrong color, but I got automation out of it. So
You did. And then having that automation saved you a lot of aggravation as you learned, having a pool that you use 12 months a year, which we had never had up north, right? It was a summer pool, and then we'd close it up. Here we were going to use the pool all year round, and we found that we used the spa a lot. If you didn't have that automation with that device that they gave you to do a push button approach
I would have to go out to the where the pool filter was,
outside the lanai cage,
outside the lanai, turn this valve this way, turn that valve that way, move that over to here, and boy, was I really happy that I didn't have to do that. My neighbors didn't have that. Many neighbors had
everything was manual.
Everything was manual. They had a spa, and they said, well, we never use our spa because we don't know which dial to turn where.
Oh my goodness.
So I was very happy that we got that, and it turned out really good for us.
And we used it a lot.
Right.
So even automation on a pool is a consideration and might be well worth the choice, right?
And we've even gone farther than that today, so, you know.
But that was another learning. And then I think we also had to have our, because we backed up to a preserve on that particular home site, we also had to have like a knee wall built from the builder in the back to make sure that the lanai and the pavers on the lanai were going to be stable and not kind of erode.
Well, otherwise
out the back, right? The lay of the land was such.
Going a little downhill, and in order to have the pool level, obviously they had to put a little knee wall and do a backfill, and it worked out great.
It worked out great. I think it had an impact maybe of where we could put the house from front to back on the lot because they had to shore it up a little bit.
Right.
But again, once somebody understood that was a consideration. It was really all about how they showed up and what they did about it.
Right.
And I think in our experience, they did the right thing. It worked out great. It looked well, it looked good. It looked all appropriate. But I liked that they addressed it with us and,
Right.
and helped make sure that it got done. And that was a home, again, where the landscaping was included. We had some choice in the landscaping of which
Right.
kinds of palm trees we wanted and other types of flowering plants and green plants and trees. But it was within an allowance. And then it was all taken care of installation-wise, landscaping-wise, and maintenance
Yep.
by the community once we were done.
Yep.
So that was beautiful. That worked out really great. Now, we were there for a good 10 years, so we definitely enjoyed that house and enjoyed everything about it.
One of the longest, if not the longest, that we have ever been in one single home was in our first home in Florida.
Right. So that was a keeper for sure. And yet, I think, as you alluded to, we figured out that we didn't play golf, and we were paying for the bundled fees in the community, et cetera, et cetera. And we were finding that where we spent our time was further south in Naples, in terms of closer to downtown and closer to certain beaches and Marco Island. And so when we had the opportunity, even along the way, we had purchased another resale. So if we're keeping score, we have to remember that we never gave up on resale opportunity,
Right.
but we purchased an investment condo here
right.
in Southwest Florida, and we rented it out.
Right.
So being in the real estate business, it made sense to
Right.
be able to rent it.
We found a very nice condo in North Naples that was a mile away from the beach, and we rented that out. And while we were building our next home,
Right, our current home.
we stayed in there.
After our first golf course community home sold,
Sold.
we had a place to go, and it
Right.
was our own lovely condo. And that worked out really great. So we did have another episode with a resale there, which it had already been renovated. It was updated and modernized from a kitchen point of view and floors, etc. So when we went in there, that was not a project house at all as
No.
a condo. We were able to go in and be able to rent it out for several seasons, and then when we needed to enjoy using it and
Right.
love the location.
Right.
But it gave us a leaping off point to build where we are now, which is not in a golf community.
Right.
And that's okay. I think we've just learned about ourselves that our activities are outside and active, but they're just not golf. That's just a personal choice.
And because we have built and moved so many times, we really weren't worried about it. We knew that it's moving and moving is a stressful thing. So we understand that as realtors and as people who have been through it before. So we knew what we were going to be getting ourselves into, and we're going to do it again. But we knew that when it was all done, we were going to be happy. We were going to be in a new house, in a new community, and new experiences, and it's all going to work out. And it did. We love where we live right now.
Absolutely. And when we talk about the modernization of the process, I think our current home reflects that as well. We had a defined on-site supervisor.
Right.
We had people from sales office that we had, defined relationships with and really had good communication with. They would, even though we were local, they would provide photos every week. They'd provide an update about what had been done and what was next on the schedule. We never had to wonder about what
Right.
their thought process was. They engaged us appropriately. We didn't need to change things. This was not a builder that was going to be super, super custom.
Right.
So
but
once
yet
our
our
choices were
supervisor was able to work with me because I wanted, I wanted the TV where you mount the TV on the wall, or they have to put some kind of a backer board in there, and they also have to
Strengthen the wall.
They have to strengthen the wall for the weight of the TV, which today is pretty light anyways now, and they have to put the wires in the right spot, and I wanted it where I wanted it, not where they wanted. And that superintendent was great. I had his phone number, I had his email. Anytime I had a question or concern, I shoot him an email, and within hours I'd get an email back and taken care of, Rich, not a problem, and move on.
So I think there's this whole, in the world in general, but certainly even in home building, this concept of customer experience has really come up compared to our reflection back, 40 years ago when we did it the first time, which is you get a little bit, you get what you get, and
Right.
communication, there just weren't the kinds of technologies to be shooting off all the emails and text messages and I'll text you a photo. But these days, as all those things are available in a good way, we're finding that the home builders are taking a good use of that to help people,
Right.
whether they're nearby or whether they're perhaps still living in another state and wondering how things are going here in Florida. The communication is so strong and the process is very clear and well communicated. It doesn't have to be so intimidating of a process.
No.
There's stress no matter what, right? It's a big decision and lots going on, but it can be done, and it can be done with a really nice outcome.
And now with you know, the way the builders are today, when you buy a resale home and you get your home inspected, now it's going to be a negotiation between you and the seller of the resale. What I'm going to fix, what I'm not going to fix, what I'll give you a credit for, and so on and so on. When you're working with a reputable builder and you have your home inspected and the home inspector there's always going to be, oh, I found this, I found that, this outlet doesn't work right, or there's always going to be something, even on a new construction.
Right.
You give that list to the builder and he says, I'll take care of it, you know, and that's it, you know.
And
so
they come back at 6 months usually, and they often come back like 9, 10, 11 months, so that within a year, everything that you may have found by living in the house or the settling that happens can be on the punch list
Right.
and be taken care of by their customer care team. So your relationship with them doesn't end when your site supervisor moves on
After
to
the
build another
closing.
home.
Exactly.
You still have people that are kind of on your team, your advocates, to help get things done. And
Right.
that's just such a huge shift in development and evolution of
Sure.
the process since we remember, you
And,
know,
yeah.
the good old days of taking it more on a hope and a prayer.
The electrician that wired your house is still on site.
That's
You
true,
can give him
too.
a call. Hey, Ronnie, how about putting another outlet in for me? Okay, fine. And you know, the electrician company will come back. The plumbing company would come back. You know, so the people that actually built your house are still on the site, and they're great people. And we've always had a wonderful experience with anything that we've had with this house here.
Right. So I think if I don't count so much maybe where we were before we started on this adventure together, but I look at you know, kind of what we've done in the last, like, say, since the early 80s. I started to keep score, and for us, the score ends up being 10-3 on new build, at least spec home and or truly new build,
Right.
versus a resale. With several of those we never actually got to move into,
Right.
but we made that choice multiple times. We learned and we moved on, and we've had lots of good outcomes and lived in some beautiful homes. So it can be done, and it can be done well, and hopefully with real estate experience, a real estate professional like us can come along and share some of the perspectives and help get questions answered or connect our customers to resources who can be their go-to, be it the inspector or the home appraiser or whoever it is that can really help make that experience be a good one. But 10-3 is how it kind of
10 to
turned out
3.
for the score. And I am curious, now that we've told the story of all of these different homes, what is the most maybe unexpected experience or outcome that happened to us?
Right.
And so
And
leave
what
a
about you?
comment below,
Yeah.
and
Have
let
you
us
built?
know.
Yeah. Did you build a house? Maybe you can share your experience with us. Tell us how it was when you built a house.
Most positive, or maybe a challenge you had to overcome, and hopefully it came out really, really well. So hopefully you found some kind of kernels of inspiration and excitement about the home buying and or home building process by listening to us as we shared our experience. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps us to
Right down here.
subscribe,
Right.
turn on notifications, and you'll get notified every time we put a new video up on the channel. We're excited to share our experience with you. We hope we can do that here in Southwest Florida. Don't hesitate to give us a call. Again, I'm Terry Pasquarelli, MVP Realty,
Rich Pasquarelli.
and we are here at 239-300-6047. Left our email below as well, so feel free to reach out. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing how we can assist you in your home buying process. Until the next video, have a great day.
Bye now.